excited. Are y'all excited? How's your Valentine's Day going so far? I'm curious. Is it good? Yeah, did we get a rose? Oh yeah, she got a rose. Good, I'm so glad. Well, I'm so happy that you guys could be here, and I'm so glad that you're back. If you've been watching our sessions, you know we've had a busy day. We have this epic panel right now with Dane Cohen, and we are gonna talk about what it will take to really win in retail for 2022. I know you guys, inflation is changing, things are changing, the market is changing dramatically, and we wanna make sure that you are ready for those changes. So we have got you, and I cannot wait to hand it over to Dane. You guys, let's give it up. Thank you so much.
Hi guys. Okay, I have a clicker and a mic, so I'm gonna sit, because I also have to drink water during this, so thank you. So what will it take to win at retail in 2022? First of all, it's great to be back in Vegas. The energy here feels back, and I think that's great for the industry, so seriously. So we're gonna talk a little bit about what's happened over the past few years and where the industry is going and how hopefully you could get ahead. So there'll be some tips, there'll be some practical advice and some inspiration, and I'll stick around after for some Q&A. If you like the presentation, here's the QR code, so you could scan it. I'll have it back up at the end, but if you scan this QR code, it'll be emailed to you so that you could have this whole presentation in your inbox. Oh, and it's on, we have some cards as well. Could you hold that up? Thank you. Okay, so I Googled how to do a presentation in front of a lot of people, and it said, always start with good news. So I think I messed up already, but the retail apocalypse has been in the headlines since I started my career in retail. Every year, brick and mortar retail is done, it's done, it's done, and yet we are all still here. So this year was a little bit different because in 2020, well, the apocalypse kind of came. We had 12,000 plus stores close. 12,000 plus, wrap your head around that, and that's just in the US. That's a significant number. And 2022, we're seeing some scary headlines as well. Okay, so inflation, unless you're living under a rock, you know inflation is the hot topic. Supply chain woes, the supply chain. All right, we're having trouble getting goods. We're having trouble getting deliveries from our vendors and landing those goods. And of course, staff shortages. Okay, these are very real and very important concerns that retailers are facing right now. So, raise your hand if you are a buyer. Are there any buyers here? Hold up your hand, keep it up. Okay, do we have any owners? Any owners? You can keep your hands up. Any owners? Any store managers? Okay, and I know we have some ladies who are getting into retail. Is there anyone here on blood pressure medication? Because you're gonna need to be. This is a tough business, and we all know it. Retail is in our blood, and there is a reason that we are sitting here after the apocalypse actually happened. You're the survivors. Give yourselves a round of applause. So, let's look forward on how we're gonna win in retail in 2022 and put this apocalypse BS behind us. And here's why it's BS, okay? Because we're looking at some Management One clients right now. We work with 1,200 retailers across North America. So it's a good sampling of independent retailers. We're all family-owned, independent retail businesses. So we did a sampling of sales in 2021 compared to 2020, and that was a wacky year, so we went back and compared it to 2019. And what we saw, if you look at the orange, okay, and this is across the broad spectrum of our retailers, we actually saw solid increases for those that made it through. Okay? So there is a silver lining to this pandemic. And that silver lining is that good quality, innovative retailers are seeing growth. And not just growth against 2020 numbers, but real growth compared to pre-pandemic levels. Now, we can't take all the credit for that. There were some external forces that really facilitated retail sales in 2021. And what were those? So we had some government stimulus money that was pumped into the economy. So we had a lot of people with some extra dollars in their pocket. There was a lot of demand, okay? Demand was high because shipments were tough to come by, right? So who here experienced maybe walking into a store and the shelves were a little bit empty over the past few months, in the past 8 months? We all saw that, right? So there was pent-up demand. And what this led to was a faster inventory turn and some better margins, right? Markdowns weren't as substantial. We saw some quality external forces guide 2021. And there is also historical precedence for this. So if we look back to what transpired after the 1918 Spanish flu, the Roaring 20s. So hopefully we are entering into the next Roaring 20s, okay? So I know we started out with a little pessimism. Now let's move on to some optimistic thinking. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get off easy, because there are some external forces at play for 2022. Inflation, inflation, inflation. And we're going to come back to this in a big way, because we're going to talk about how this impacts your pricing. Okay, so we'll come back to inflation. That government stimulus money that was out there, well, it's fading, okay? So people don't have that savings sitting in their pocket that they were sitting on in the year past. So this is all about controlling the controllables, okay? As a retailer, there are always going to be things that are out of your control, those external forces. But this is about controlling your destiny. It's about taking charge and controlling the controllables. Okay, I love this quote. It's not the will to win, but the will to prepare to win. Okay, there is a lot of preparation that's going to go into being an innovative retailer, and we're going to go through some tips and tricks that you can use in order to get ahead with preparation. So looking forward to 2022 now, we're going to look at the Deloitte study of consumer expectations for 2022. Now, some good news. Consumers and customers are looking for experiences outside of the home. They're bored. They're done with just e-commerce shopping. We're not saying e-commerce is going anywhere, but people want to get back into physical stores. The percentage is up from 42% in 2021 to 84% of customers want to get back out and shop. They're willing to spend if it's credit, and this is the big one, 96% of all customers, okay, are expecting a seamless experience across all your channels of retail. All right, so wherever you are selling, whatever platform you are using, it is now one in the eyes of the customer. And we're going to get to why that's going to impact your buy and how that actually is going to have an effect on what you choose and your product assortment during this market. Okay, so let's view this as a reset. Let's view this as a moment to really forge ahead. This is the great retail reset of 2022. It's an opportunity for us to right-size our inventory, review our pricing. What is the store experience? How are you presenting your product to the customer? And really deliver an outstanding product assortment. You are all here because you are in the search for great product that's going to bring customers into your business, okay? So this is the opportunity to have a reset, to learn the lessons that we learned over the past year and a half, 2 years, and now apply them and move forward. Okay, so here are the 6 topics we're going to cover today. We're going to start thinking like a brand. We're going to play offense. We're going to take a narrow and deep approach to merchandise assortment planning. We're going to fail. That's right, I'm telling you to fail, and I will explain what I mean later. We're going to find new resources. We're going to keep our inventory fresh, and we're going to price for profit. So we are at that fork in the road right now, and we're all going to be taking it. Okay, so start thinking like a brand. How many people here have just one brick and mortar location or one e-commerce location, one location? Could you put your hand up a little higher? Okay. No one here has one location anymore. We have to take that thinking and get rid of it. The age of omni-channel and multi-channel retailing is here. We've been talking about it for the better part of a decade, and now it is a reality. And my good friend Josh Orr is somewhere out here. Josh, where are you? He's speaking tomorrow at 1 p.m. He's going to take an e-commerce approach to this, so I implore you to go see him tomorrow. We're going to look at this from a product assortment standpoint. As you can tell, the clicker is a little sticky, so I apologize for this. Okay, so multi-channel retailing, what does that mean today? It means that your customer is interacting across multiple touch points with your retail store now. They are no longer walking in one door. They are no longer walking past one window. You have windows, display windows, across multiple channels, okay? We have our physical store, email, text, social media. The metaverse is now the hot new topic. We won't touch that today, but that's going to be your next era of multi-channel retailing and social selling and live selling. So when you think about your business, I encourage you to think about it as one seamless channel. And we talked about this before. 96% of customers now expect a seamless experience across all of this. So the days where I bought something online, I bring it back to in-store, that is just a given now. That is just a given. And I know for independent retailers, it's a little bit tough to catch up with some of these practices, but you have to view this as one experience for the customer. And here's why this is so important to your buying philosophy. If you are buying, and you are buying what we call wide and thin, so that means you're dabbling in a lot of product, you're bringing in one size run, you're touching lightly on product, it is going to mean nothing when you spread that out across multiple channels. So if you buy a size run of one shirt and you buy it in a small, medium, large, if that's being purchased on e-commerce, your store, and live selling, it means nothing. We're going to talk about narrow and deep merchandising strategies so that you can make an impact with your categories, with your style selection, and your vendors when it comes to really building brand equity and awareness from your customer. So take Skirt, for example. Skirt is one of our clients. They're a luxury women's boutique based out of Philly. Now, Skirt has taken this and their approach to that narrow and deep merchandising philosophy, you can see it across all their channels, okay? So when the Valentine's gift guide drops, it's at the top of their e-commerce page, it's right at the top of their Instagram, their stories in their Instagram reflect that, and they're doing videos across their social media platforms as well, promoting the drop of this product. And why that is so important is because they have the goods to back it up. If you're going to launch with a new collection like they did, go deep into it because you want to back it up. When the customer walks in, you want to make a statement that they're really going to be able to latch on to. So then we see this translate into their physical store. so you could book an appointment with them right from the website. It is all one seamless experience. The other thing that they do, which is really a great tie-in with your customer, is tell the customer who you are. So here we have a story about how Maureen started the business back in 2001. We have a vintage picture from 2001. Isn't that sad that 2001 is vintage now? And we have an interview with one of her stylists that's been with the business. We want you to tell the customer who you are, what you stand for. If a customer wants to shop, they can go to Amazon to shop. What they're doing from you is they're having an experience and a connection. So connect them in with who you are as a retailer. Okay, we'll skip to the 3 pillars of retail. The 3 pillars of retail: people, product, and messaging. Now, just 2 years ago, when we did presentations, we had 2 pillars of retail, and that was people and product. So it used to go, if you have great people working for you and great product in your store, you got the field of dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. And now there is a 3rd category that is probably more important than ever, and that is messaging. Who you are. We saw Maureen from Skirt just do it by really putting forward who she is and what she stands for. And we're seeing retailers do this across the spectrum. So here's another one of our clients, Heyday. This is an incredible, incredible way that they were able to get a message out there of who they are and what they stand for. They did a pop-up shop with a local charity called Girls Get After It, where they took product and private labeled it with some messages that are important to the Girls Get After It Foundation. Okay, so we have ski like a girl. We had shirts that said run like a girl. And this was all based on empowerment of their customer. It was messaging and marketing with a purpose. And we're seeing that more so than ever today. Here's another one of our clients. This is Mixology. Mixology, the way that they're interacting and messaging with their customer is they have an ambassador program and a creators community. So these are all ways that the stores are going out there, retailers are going out there and bringing their customer into the fold. They're understanding their lifestyle, they're seeing where they shop, okay, which is not just in the store anymore, and they are bringing them in. This is a great example of how they're bringing them in through social commerce. Feature Sneaker here in Las Vegas. One of the most incredible retailers. They are the hottest thing when it comes to men's footwear. What they did is they have a scholarship program where they are interacting with their community by giving people a chance to participate in arts foundations and scholarship programs. Again, this is an incredible way to connect in with the community. Here's another way that they are reaching out and making an impact across multiple channels. Here is their editorial on their website. So when a new product launches, they are going to have an editorial feature on what that product is. So here we see a new brand launch. Here we see the new Ivy Park collection from Beyonce and Adidas. And here we see a gift guide again for Valentine's Day. And this is all right on their website. It all ties in together. Let's talk about playing offense. So we talked a little bit about that narrow and deep merchandising strategy. One of the things about being a multi-channel retailer is, again, this narrow and deep philosophy when it comes to product. With the supply chain disruptions that we saw, it is important right now to be a little aggressive with your planning. So that means when you are here and you're walking around, you're open to buy dollars. What you budgeted, I would suggest going a little over, because we are still seeing slowdown in shipping, and we want to pad our buys a little bit, okay? So we want to go in and meet with vendors and be very strict on our cancel dates, right? We really want to lay the groundwork for what our cancel windows are, but we want to be aggressive so that we can back up our product. What this also allows you to do is actually mitigate risk. The thought process goes, if you buy more, aren't I putting myself at more risk? But if you buy with conviction, it actually helps you with markdown strategies at the end of the season, because instead of marking down a bunch of tchotchkes across different categories, you took a risk, you took a point of view, and then you can mark it down if it doesn't work. And so that narrow and deep approach, think about it as good, better, and best, okay? Instead of good, better, and best, maybe just take better and best. And we don't need the good. How many vendors do you think need to be in a category to support a category? 5? Very good. It's 4 vendors. So it is said that 4 vendors should comprise of the 80-20 rule of any category. That means that 80% of your sales are coming from 20%, and those 4 vendors are really going to be at the top of the pack. So make yourself important to these vendors, okay? You're here to create relationships. You're here to get face-to-face with your vendors. The deeper you go in and the more important you make them, the more likely you are to get shipped on time, the more likely you are to be able to swap in season. These are relationships that will really carry you. So instead of, again, taking that wide and thin approach to merchandise planning, we want to go hard when you are passionate about something. So, I'm sorry, guys. We have a vendor scorecard. This is a great tool. It's free to you. If you scan the QR code, we'll send that over to you. And this is a way to actually see how your vendors are selling. 9 times out of 10, a retailer makes a mistake based on their gut of which vendor is selling best in the category. And when they look at the numbers on how it really plays out, it's sometimes deceiving. So here's a great tool where you can actually input the sales by vendor, by category, and be able to see who's coming out on top so that you can put more effort, energy, and focus into those key vendors. Okay, the next concept is fail fast. Okay, so I told you I'm going to tell you to fail. Who here took a flight to this conference? Who here took a flight? Okay, how would you feel if halfway through the flight the pilot came on and said, hey ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to be using instruments today, I'm not going to be using any of my fancy buttons, I'm just going to wing it and hope we get there. No one would feel too good about that. It is the same thing at retail. Metrics and KPIs are your tools. This is your way of guiding your business. Winging it is no longer an option. Going from the gut can only take you so far. Your intuition could only go so far. It's going to do great when it comes to picking those styles and picking the trends for the season, but you need to back that up with hard data and metrics. So your KPIs are the levers in your business that allow you to respond to your business. So it is important that we know the turn of a certain category. It is important to know how fast those goods are selling. It's important to know what your ROI is on a certain vendor, because that information is going to ensure that, 1, you don't keep making the same mistakes over and over, and 2, when you take a risk, when you fail fast because you're going to catch it. So that fail fast concept is so important. If you are properly tracking your business, we recommend taking about 10 to 15% of your open to buy and put it towards testing new product. So why is this so important? Testing new product is what excites your customer. It's what brings them back in. If you're constantly delivering the same experience, what reason do they have to come back? You are all taking an amazing first step by being here at the show and finding new product. But the fail fast mentality, when we bring in that 10 to 15%, and we look at new opportunities to go into, we're going to be tracking it and we can respond quickly. So what are some of the ways we can respond to our business? We have marketing. So if you bring something in and we see in the first 3 weeks the sell-through isn't great, we put some marketing behind it, okay? We have our different sales channels. So maybe we bring it to the top of our e-commerce page. Maybe we hop on a live sale and promote that, bad word, promote the heck out of that product, okay? Maybe we change up the visuals in the store, but the ability to track your metrics is gonna help you either succeed or fail fast. And what's the ultimate way that we can mitigate risk is markdowns. Okay, so markdowns, are they a friend or a foe in your business? A lot of retailers are scared of markdowns. And I'm gonna tell you something. Markdowns are only your enemy if you don't learn from your mistakes. They are tuition paid for understanding your customer. If you take a markdown on something, understand what went wrong. Was it the fit? Was it the wrong style? Did you bring it in too soon? If you walk away with a lesson, you are failing correctly because you're going to prevent yourself from making that same mistake. So this concept that markdowns are an enemy, it is only an enemy if you don't learn from it. There's another thing that markdown does for your business. It creates liability, it creates demand for liabilities. Product on the floor that is not selling, product on the floor that is aged is not an asset. It may look that way on a balance sheet, but it is not an asset. It is a liability. And when you sell those markdowns, when you mark down that product, you create demand for it and you open back cash in your business to go and invest in new product. Okay, finding new resources. This is so critical to your business, more so now than ever, because the world we are living in today is not the same world as it was in 2019. The first step of finding new resources is sitting exactly where you are sitting. You are at one of the most preeminent fashion events in North America. Brands are represented here. There's new exciting projects. There's emerging brands. There's things you've never seen before. There are trends here. This is the place to be. I'm going to give you a little story about retailers who were scared to try new product and find new resources. For years, the shoe industry was dominated by Nike, Adidas, and New Balance. That's it. On and Hoka came in like a wrecking ball and outsold and surpassed expectations like unheard of in an industry that was dominated by the big three. The footwear retailers that took a chance on these brands, that were out there finding new resources, that were bringing in new product and taking those chances, they are reaping the rewards now. On has a $5.5 billion valuation, and Hoka is on track to sell $1 billion worth of footwear, surpassing Uggs. They're owned by the same company, and this is the first year they're going to surpass Uggs. So taking a chance and trying new product could be seriously seriously beneficial to your business. The other reason you have to try new product is because, like I said, we are in a different world than we were in 2019. There has been a shift, a fundamental shift in the consumer, okay? So what are things that are important to the consumer now? Running, health, outdoor lifestyle, kitchen and home. You know, how many people went out and when they were, you know, in the pandemic, took up a love of cooking or took up a love of, I'm finally gonna take that time and redecorate that room. Electronics, you know, this digital nomad lifestyle. And I'm gonna tell you, for years I poo-pooed this, but the sustainability and purpose-driven product, it is here, it is real, and consumers care. I'm a millennial, Gen Z cares, and Gen Z are going to be the ones that are guiding the trends. They care about where things are made, they care about the political ramifications of product. So, you know, like we saw earlier, that pop-up shop with the women's charity was an incredible way for a retailer to show that they are hearing these concerns and that they're in on it. Just to show how powerful a shift in consumer trends can happen, let's use the bubblegum example. Bubblegum saw a 15% decline in sales from 2007 to 2017. That is billions of dollars worth of bubblegum sales. And it has nothing to do with bubblegum. Do you know why those sales dropped? Gum is on checkout counters, and people, when they were bored on checkout lines, used to pick up the gum and they would buy it. Now, they are on their cell phones and not paying attention. So this is just an example of how quickly the consumer can change and have a serious impact on your sales. Here's another trend. How many people are here on TikTok? Okay? TikTok is guiding right now the trends and preferences of customers. Who here went out and made that baked feta pasta? Remember when that was the big trend? Okay, every Trader Joe's across the country had displays with feta cheese and tomatoes, and you have to be reacting just as quick to the trends that are guiding your customers. By the way, just a little tip. Okay, it's gonna happen. Upcycled, it's a huge trend on TikTok right now, and as I'm walking around, I see a lot of upcycled vendors. That's something that you should be looking into. It's super hot from a trend perspective, and it loops back into that purpose-driven product. So upcycle is a big word. If you're not familiar with it, Google it, get a little insight. Okay, so how are we gonna buy for the future? Well, there's trade shows. Online marketplaces continue to rise in prominence, so Fair, Fashion Go, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar. Think local, look at local talent. Do something that a national retailer can't do and bring in a local artist and collaborate with them. And then private label product. And private label has a different connotation than I think a lot of retailers think. A lot of retailers think that if I want to do a private label, I'm going to have to go out and work with a factory and bring in 50,000 units. I'm too small, I can't do that. There are a lot of vendors here that are willing to have private label conversations with you. They'll maybe make something exclusive just for you, an exclusive colorway. Maybe they'll make a print, a design for you. We can take some beauty products. There's a lot of private label beauty out there. These are going to be exclusive to you, high margin, super important. Kith, one of the coolest retailers out there, here's how they went out and found new resources. For Black History Month, they paired up with 3 prominent artists in the Black community and created a collaboration series, okay? This is, again, purpose-driven. It links back to something exclusive and exciting, and it's going to be a new resource for the customer, a new resource, something exciting to go and shop. The opportunities are there. We have to be keeping our eyes open for them. keeping it fresh. This could potentially be the most important aspect of your financial success as a retailer. Keeping fresh inventory on your shelves. Okay, the stock to sales ratio is a metric that a lot of retailers overlook. Basically, your stock to sales ratio at the simplest terms is how much inventory do I need to bring in to achieve the sales I want, okay? So how much inventory in white t-shirts do I need to land in order to maximize my sales? The second part of that is, and now when do I land it? So if I need $10,000 worth of inventory in a season, and I need to pace that out, knowing when and how much to land is critical to cash flow in your business. So think about the drop model of streetwear retailers. This has become a huge trend, and there's multiple reasons for it. One, it's that narrow and deep merchandising strategy. So you're going hard into a product that you believe in, you're putting marketing behind it, you're putting it through your sales channels as an omni-channel retailer, and you're creating buzz and focusing it in on a certain date to drop. Now that's going to create excitement, buzz, and a dopamine rush for your customer. Customers love new, they love novel, they want to see new product. Most customers fall into two categories. You have your markdown shoppers who are only looking for a deal, and you have your fashion lovers who want to see new goods. So we did a little informal survey of our clients. We did a run through of sales for our top performing clients, and what we found is that 90% of sales in a given month came from inventory that was less than 10 weeks old. That is how powerful new inventory is. And 50% of sales came from inventory that was delivered in that same month. So 50%, that means that 50% of your merchandise never even went on your books. It was in and out so fast, your cash flow will love you for that. Now, let's put this into practical terms though. Your stock to sale ratio, we have two vendors that we bought into, okay? What is your name? Tanisi? Tanisi's my buyer. She went out and from vendor A, she bought a certain amount of goods and had $3,000 worth of sales at a 50% margin, walked away with $1,500 in the bank. Good job. From vendor B, went out, bought some goods, had that same $3,000 worth of sales, but at a 45% margin, so walked away with $1,350. Who here thinks vendor A is the better performing vendor? Come on, you walked away with more money. It's more money. Who thinks vendor A is the better performing vendor? Who thinks vendor B? Who thinks we don't have nearly enough information? So, what I didn't tell you, okay, it's gonna work, is the stock to sales ratio of vendor A is 6, and here on vendor B it's 2. So that means we brought in $2 of inventory for every dollar of sales, and here we had to go out and spend $6 for every dollar sold. Okay? Hey, I'd rather walk away with investing $2 for every dollar than $6. So here's another way to look at it. So vendor A, that means that we made an initial investment of $18,000 in vendor A and a $6,000 investment in vendor B. And that stock to sale ratio dictates what we're going to walk away with. So even though you made more money with vendor A, the factor of time and your initial investment is something you're not seeing on an accounting spreadsheet, but it is what the reality is of your cash flow, okay? So that is why planning out your inventory turns and understanding those metrics are really gonna get you ahead in 2022. Okay, so these are the questions you need to be asking yourself. How much inventory do you need to do the business you want? Are you continuing to land fresh goods? Are you just landing it all at the beginning of the season and front loading it and it's getting stale? We want to go back to that wide and thin mentality. If you have a wide and thin assortment, by 10 weeks in, it's going to be picked over, it's not going to be meaningful. And aged inventory is not an asset. Even though your accountant will tell you it's an asset on the books, it is not an asset. If it doesn't sell at a certain point, it's just not gonna sell. We gotta take the emotion out of it, okay? Markdowns are only your enemy if you don't learn anything from them. Okay, last but not least, we're going to price for profit in 2022. Now, what do I mean by price for profit? Well, here's the first thing. Inflation is happening, it's real, and it's here. And if you don't take action now with pricing, you are going to miss the boat. If I say maybe one thing that gets through today, that would be my one thing. That the customer right now is hearing the same thing that you're hearing. They're reading the news, they're seeing the headlines, they know that inflation is happening. They're anticipating a rise in prices. Take this opportunity to increase your pricing now before you sit on it and then in 3 months from now raise your prices and the customer goes, what? I thought this inflation thing was over. You had your chance, okay? Now, going out, buying new merchandise, buying into new categories and vendors, now is the time to look at your pricing. Right, so your costs are rising, therefore customer costs need to reflect that as well. So what should we be marking up product at? What should be our IMU, our initial markup? Well, here's what I hear all the time. The vendor sets the price. I can't do anything about it. I just multiply it by 2.2, I get, that's what I do. That's what I've always done. I hear that more than anything. That's what I've always done. Okay? Well, again, this is the great retail reset. So we need to tie back your IMU to your goals. If your IMU is not based on what your desired outcome is, goals without plans are just a wish. You need to have an understanding of where your business needs to be to break even, what are your expenses, what's your desired net profit, and then price according to that. Now that may seem overwhelming, but we have a handy dandy calculator that we're gonna give you. So there's 3 key elements of pricing. What are my expected markdowns, okay? What percentage of my inventory sales do I think are gonna come from markdown dollars? What are my current operating costs as a percent of sales, okay? And what is my desired net profit? What is the net profit that you need to walk out with after a year to be a successful retailer? It's really important to know that, and a lot of people don't. And that's okay, but we have formulas and we have ways to help. So you take all that and you divide it by 100 plus those expected markdowns, and let's see how this looks in real time. Rachel, are you playing a prank on me with this clicker? Okay. So if I'm expecting that my markdowns are going to be 20% of my sales, my operating expenses are about 40% of my sales, and I want to come out of the year with a 6% net profit, then here is my IMU. This is the baseline of where I need to be from a markup perspective. That's the best I'm going to do, okay? Because it's all, your IMU is not where you land at the end of the season. There are real factors that come into play. Your operating expenses rise, your markdown percentage could go up. So this is the baseline number, and finding out that baseline number is critical to the success of your business. So this simple formula at least gives you a head start into calculating that IMU so that you can start looking at building those prices. Let's see how this translates into real sales. So here we have a retailer that was using a 52.5% margin markup, a 52.5% markup. On a $9 item, that's going to be $19 to the customer. But we just did our formula and we found that we need a 55% markup. That $9 item now costs the customer $19.99. That's only 99 cents. No big deal, right? Is anybody going to bat an eyelash about purchasing something with a 99 cents differentiator on it? No. But let's see how that translates to your business. Okay, if you have annual sales of $1 million and we're looking at that 52.5 versus the 55% markup, our markdowns hold steady at 20. Look at what it does to our net profit. This retailer who stayed at that 52.5 is walking away with a net profit of $30,000, and this retailer doubled that. That 99 cents doubled in terms of bottom line dollars. This is how important pricing is and really understanding your markups. And there's one more piece of advice here. Just because something costs X amount does not mean that is how you have to price it, okay? So if you buy that item for $9 and you think that you can sell it for $30, you think that's the value that the customer will buy it for, price it at that, okay? Price it at that, get your margin. You need areas where you can build margin, okay? And we're out here, we're looking at a lot of vendors. This is why we're bringing in new resources. We're gonna find resources where we think are high value, that we can price it a little bit more competitively, and then knowing where our baseline is in terms of markup. So that baseline is 55%. Where can I have opportunities to build my margin? And then pricing, and then we're looking to inch up pricing because of inflation, and now's the time to do that. So this all really translates back to open to buy planning. And I know that this is a concept that is sometimes difficult as a retailer who is doing 50,000 things in a day. But your open to buy planning is going to nail down the metrics that you need to succeed in your business, and that key area that we talked about, which is your stock to sales ratio. That's the magic number. How much inventory do I need in order to do the sales that I want? And we're going to look at that on a category level. So that is the fundamental foundation of open to buy planning, and really taking a measured approach to your inventory projections and your buying projections. So I'll just do a quick plug for what I do, which is consultative open to buy planning. So I work with retailers in order to help find that number and that sweet spot by category in order for you to really maximize on sales and mitigate your cash flow risks in season. Okay, well, that's... So remember, in 2022, we are going to think like a brand. You don't have one store. You don't have one door. You have many doors across infinite places now where your customer is coming in. be aggressive. We want to play on offense. We want product and category and styles to have meaning. Wide and thin is not an effective strategy in fashion retail. We're going to fail fast. That means we're going to understand our metrics and find ways to analyze our sales so that when trouble is happening, we catch it and we respond. Not react, respond. We're going to find new resources. We're going to go to our regional trade shows. We're going to talk to local vendors. We're going to be online and creating new platforms like Fair and Fashion Go to make purchases from. We're going to keep it fresh. We're going to keep merchandise flowing in and be mindful of that stock to sales ratio and your inventory turns. And we're going to price for profit. So we are going to have a baseline IMU that ties back to the goals of our business. And we're going to take this moment to look at our pricing and inch it up a little bit, because now with inflation is the time to do so. And so those are hopefully some strategies you could take to the bank in 2022. And if you want any of the details from this presentation, if you want that vendor scorecard, if you want that IMU calculator, just do it.